I call this regular meeting of the Village of Villa Park Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Roll call, Calvert.
Here.
Hofstra.
Here.
Jackson. Case. Ludke.
Here.
Orlowski. Romano. Schlinsky.
Here.
I too am present. With that, we have roll call. We have a quorum, excuse me. All right. Approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of 7/14/22 and 8/11/22?
So moved. I'll second that.
Motion and second from Schlinsky and second from Calvert. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. So before we get started, I just want to introduce everybody to our new director, Mark. I think everybody's met him formally, or informally, but now we're meeting informally. All right, so we've got new business, petition PZ 220012 for 530 East Park Avenue, variation rear yard setback, Deborah Brown petitioner. Just really quick to explain, we'll start with staff input, move to presentation of the petitioner if you have any presentation that you want to put on. If not, that's okay. Public participation and questions, if there is any, that's when anybody from the public wishing to speak would speak. Questions from the commission, any closing comments of the petitioner, then we'll close the public hearing, discuss up here, and then have a motion, if appropriate, this evening. I would ask that anybody who expects to speak tonight stand. We'll get everybody sworn in at once. So just stand, raise your right hand, and do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. All right, when you're ready, Mark.
Thank you. This evening we do have a petition.
Oh, you'll need a mic probably.
So generally, if you want to stand right to the left.
Or if you want to grab a mic for your hand, that's okay too. We have those.
We'll figure it out.
Because we are on camera, which I should have pointed out before.
All right, this evening we have petitioner Deborah Brown asking for a rear yard variation on a setback down to 15 feet from the required 40 feet. She is proposing to do an addition to her primary structure, which is the home. That addition will consist of a mudroom, a garage, and some storage space above the garage. In sitting down and reviewing this with her, we suggested some other potential locations on the property. Because of the unique characteristics of the home, none of those had really worked out, so we went ahead and went with the notification and moving forward with this variation request. Staff does support this. It is a unique structure. It is has some architectural features that she is trying to preserve, and putting the garage in the locations that staff suggested would jeopardize those, if not remove them in its entirety.
Okay. Do you have anything you want to add at this time, or?
I mean, if you think it's helpful, I can say.
If you want, just come up to the dais so everybody can hear you. Yeah, right here at the podium, I'm sorry.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming. I'm requesting this variation because my garage cannot be located with a 40-foot setback without compromising the character of the home. This would result in a loss of natural light in the main living areas by blocking key windows and losing visibility of the yard from the living room, dining room, and kitchen. It would obstruct the most beautiful part of the house where the windows wrap around like a vintage bay, and it would compromise the charm of the home from the interior and exterior. If I put the garage on the west side of the house with the approved setback, it would be crammed in tightly, leaving only a driveway between my house and my neighbors, John and Heidi. John does not like the idea of having the garage so close to their house. It would greatly reduce the light going into their home. This location would also affect the look from the street, putting our houses so close together. In my opinion, it would be a very obtrusive look for the block. We would lose the balance of the spacing we have with yard areas between each house. The way the garage is designed, it will be tucked away behind the house where you won't even see a difference from the front. The back part of the house has no windows to block. It will not affect the most attractive features. Our neighbors who will be next to the proposed garage location on the east side, Mark and Jesse, have a large side yard. The sun comes up on the other side of the property. The garage will not bring our houses closer together or affect their light. This design will make the connection from the home to the garage functional without affecting my neighbors, the character of the home, or the block. So I hope you can see why this variation is the best course of action and approve this exception. Thank you for listening. If anyone has any questions?
Thank you. We may have questions,
Okay.
but anyone from the public wishing to speak on this agenda item? All right, seeing none. Questions from the commission? Do you have any questions?
I have a question for Mark, staff. The two proposals that you had given the petitioner, the alternate locations, was that for the identical proposal that would go on the rear of the house? Or were they?
The footprint?
Yes.
Yeah, it was the same footprint, slightly different configuration. So it still got her the size of the garage she was asking for, but not specifically the same exact dimension. The doors were shifted slightly differently.
So it's still attached to the house? And
Yeah, in these scenarios, it would have still been
one
attached,
and
correct?
two on
Yep.
the photos were
Yep.
still attached?
Mhm.
Okay.
I have a question for the petitioner. If she could come to the podium. Good evening. So thank you for the presentation, the details of your home and the proposed garage. You mentioned you had spoken with your neighbors, and my understanding is the neighbor to your west indicated that potential alternatives would potentially impede their lighting or the lighting.
I actually, am saying with the wall right there, it would impede their lighting. He just said he wouldn't like it there,
Okay, he would
to
not.
clarify.
So, okay.
But it would, because the sun comes up on the other side of my house, so if there was a big structure, that would block their light pretty
Okay.
severely, because you would just, if I tried to cram that in there, it would just be a driveway between our homes.
Understood.
Yeah.
And a driveway between your homes is essentially what you currently have. But you are indicating that your western neighbor has indicated that their opposition to alternatives.
Yes.
Have you spoken with your eastern neighbor?
I have, that
Okay.
Mark, of Mark and Jesse, and I had told him originally, it was gonna go behind the house, it would, follow the house line back, and just, asked him if he wanted to see the plans, he said it was fine, he didn't wanna see the plans, he was fine with it, and as I, mentioned in my presentation, because at least they have that large side yard, and the sun comes up on the other side of their yard, it wouldn't affect them the same way that it would affect John and Heidi on the west side.
Got it. And my understanding is that the exterior aesthetics of the proposed garage, which would be attached via your mudroom, would be consistent with the current existing facade of the house?
It would leave the facade pretty much alone, because the one part I would be attaching to is a small addition on the house originally that is the least interesting part of the house, and everything else has just glorious windows wrapping around. The other part, no matter which corner I attach to, I would be closing in the living room, dining room, kitchen, where you wouldn't see to the yard anymore, you wouldn't have light. It would just really change the main living areas of the house, and the, blocking all those beautiful windows from the outside as well.
Yeah, I don't disagree that there are unique features to your home, the way that it's set up from street-facing view versus the rear of your house with not the bay window, but it's actually a bay extension.
Yeah.
It's not just a window.
Yeah, it's like
it's
the whole
frame.
house space, yeah.
It's the frame. So one thing that I was thinking and going through the plans is that the attachment via the mudroom opens the second floor, second story of the attached garage up, as you say, for attic space. Any indications to add in other utilities for the garage?
Just basic electrical and, you know, if someday you wanted a garage heater, but I'm not gonna do that at this time, you know.
And where would in the mudroom, you would have, of course, two water lines coming in there for the washer and the washer. Where would that drain to?
I have a washer dryer elsewhere, I wouldn't put one in there. Or I don't need a sink necessarily, that's not part of the plan,
So water is not part of the plan
No.
into the mudroom?
no. Not currently, no. It just would be a wall of cabinets and a bench, kind of a thing. Take off your shoes and, yeah.
I-
Because I have water in the basement and upstairs, so I don't think I would
And
be adding
then
that.
how would, I didn't see an elevation of what this would look like from the street because, and I'm interested in that because it appears as though the garage with the storage above it is going to be much higher than your house.
Not much, it's around the same size, but my house has a lot of peaks and higher and lower parts, but the one thing, is you won't see it from the street at all, and if I could get, something up with the plat or the, one of the images, I could give you a better idea how it attaches, but basically most of the house is a square, you know, that kind of meanders, and then there's a rectangle that juts off the back.
Right.
That's where the mudroom would just extend out from that.
What room is that now?
It's like an extra bedroom / den, you know, that's set up as a den,
Okay.
yeah.
Just for
So-
clarification, there is no variation request on building height. Her proposal is within all the conforming height and setbacks, except for the rear yard.
Yeah.
Also, just related to that, I mean, I don't know about the specifics of the height, but if you look, this is kind of like a bungalow. I mean, it's several feet up, and you can see how much space there is on the back versus where the floor is. So, I mean, I don't know what it looks like this from the street either, but
To the point of setbacks, there is a non-conforming, the setback from the eastern line is already non-conforming, so they are pushing, the petitioner would push the garage back to conform the existing code for the addition.
Correct, the addition will be conforming
Right.
to the eastern side yard
I
setback.
think we're talking
That's
less than
6
a
feet.
foot
Yeah,
already
it's-
non-conforming.
Yeah, it's like,
We're talking less than a foot of non-conforming.
correct. And she has agreed to put it at the 6-foot side yard setback.
Back up 6-foot sidewalk?
Yes, side yard setback.
To give you a sense of it, the garage would be about the same distance setback as my garage currently is now. It's just, it would attach, yeah. There's still another 15 feet, and that's pretty much where my garage is. It would just move it over and get much larger.
As a homeowner with a current one-car garage, I feel you.
Chicago winters, and as you get older, you've had one fall.
any other questions? All right. Do you have any closing comments?
Yeah. I just said, after weighing all of the factors, the layout of the house, preserving the architectural features, considering my neighbor's wishes and what looks best for the block, we settled on this design, which I feel works with all of the complex factors. To not have to go outside to the garage in the harsh winter is a luxury, but it can also help you avoid slips and falls. This garage will make the house functional and a bit safer, and every improvement in the neighborhood goes a long way to raise property values. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. So in the way of discussion, I would also just point out that as far as our village lots, it is a fairly shallow lot at 128 feet. I mean, it's not shallow. There's several of those along this block, but it's got the Great Western Trail. That's the prairie path there.
It's a
Prairie path behind it there. So, I mean, most of our lots are closer to 180, but it's a wide lot at 73, so I guess that's kind of the trade-off. In the context of that street, I personally think the addition at the rear is better than the addition on the side. It's kind of the street does kind of have a bit of a unique character because of the wide lots. We've typically got 50-foot wide lots. Most of these are closer to 75. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, the variance on the rear depth doesn't bother me because of the open space to the prairie bed. Not like you're encroaching in utility right away.
Any other discussion? Anybody got any comments or thoughts?
I like the plan. I like the idea of putting it behind the house like this. My hesitation is 25 feet's a big ass. And at some point in the future, it's going to be difficult to tell someone else no when we've approved a 25-foot variance.
Yeah, and the thing with variances, though, is they're each unique and they're not, by law, supposed to set precedent for future variations. But I know what you're saying. I'm also seeing that, I don't know if this is a shed or a garage. The neighbors actually have a garage at the rear of the property.
If you
I'm
look at
noticing.
if you look at the
interesting,
block,
yeah.
on like Google Maps and things, there's a couple of them. Well, the garage next door sits very close
Yeah.
to the back. But even, I think, 2 or 3 houses down, there's a garage that sits way back as well. I mean, I don't know how old those structures are.
John and Heidi next door, it's 1 foot off the property line. Really, most of them are setback. Some of them have a different shape and they're slightly different, but.
Yeah, in this photo, you can even see if you go down.
Yeah, I'm on Google Maps right now, and
Yeah.
across the board on that side, on the north end of Park Boulevard,
And this one is
various houses have elements, whether those be garages, looks like a swimming pool, and sheds that are non-conforming already from a 40-foot setback from the rear yard.
But it's not because they're detached
Right.
and they're an accessory. That's the issue that we have here. Once we're attaching the garage, that pushes us into, it's the primary structure.
Okay.
And so that forces the building envelope and rear yard setback to be a factor.
One thing I
Because
want
if we were detached, this isn't a conversation.
one thing I want to clarify too, the existing garage is going away, correct?
Yes.
And currently, we don't allow multiple garages.
Well, she would have to get into
No,
the
right, that-
garage, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, that would
Yeah.
have to be another, yeah, the garage has to go, so that's,
Yeah, I think the uniqueness of a lot that's under 150 feet really starts to sort of force this into the unique paradigm that we're sort of faced with here. I mean, you're at 30 off the front and 40 off the back, you're at 70, right? I mean, and not to say that you can't build a house in 70, but because of the uniqueness of what's going on,
Well, yeah, that coupled with the fact that the petitioner has indicated that she's received at least oral opposition of alternatives from her neighbors. Granted, they haven't actually written us one way or another, but being a good neighbor is something that I generally take into consideration.
right, and I'd take her own opposition to the design on the side before I take the neighbor's opposition to it. I think this wasn't her one and only scheme that she developed. Yeah, they went through multiple and that didn't solve her problems, right? And so this is her solution.
Correct, yeah, I'm agreeing with you
Yeah.
in that the alternatives were less attractive than this
Mhm.
petition.
Yeah.
In addition, staff has come around to support this petition.
Right.
Can I clarify one thing regarding attached, detached as well?
yes,
If this was detached, it could go significantly closer to the rear lot line in its current size.
Mhm.
But by attaching it, falls under the principal structure, essentially it's a technicality.
Of the code, correct. Yeah.
right, and
Hence the need for variation.
And I think that we all could agree in the context of this neighborhood that garage at the rear, even if it's somewhat in the rear setback, is a better contextual solution than a front-loading garage on the side of the house, which would be what probably be,
Which is allowed by right.
yeah,
Which is,
would be a
Allowed
lot,
by right. She wouldn't
it
be
could be
asking for
designed by
variation
right.
If it was in configuration 1 or 2 on your second, fourth page. Those are conforming locations.
I have a quick question for the petitioner. On the east property line, do you have is there a fence? What's that boundary line between you and your neighbor to the east?
Right now,
Pretty open?
it's just my little stretch of lilac bushes, basically, and his little section in front of that of where he's trying to regrow a little prairie strip.
Oh,
So
okay.
you've got, 6 feet between my house and his little prairie strip, and then the lilacs start, and he's got his covered pergola type thing on a little concrete section right there back next to the lilacs.
Okay.
So it's already kind of blocked there, and then he already has the shaded structure as well, where they
So
sit.
he has a little structure on the on the west side of his property. Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure.
If there's any other comments or discussion, or are we ready for a motion? Don't want to cut anybody off if anybody's got more thoughts.
can hear it. I guess one of the things,
Are you looking to close the public hearing?
You usually wait till after the discussion, just so she records it all anyway, but, yeah.
I think, I'm trying to find the picture here of this, of the mudroom.
There were plans.
There were one of these. You know, and this is so small I can't read it anyway, but I guess my concern would be there being utilities in this mudroom that could be extended into this garage. So I think that would be something that should be considered so that at some point in the future, as the experience is going to live on and so is this garage, that this doesn't become an apartment at some point in the future. By eliminating any utilities leaving the house might be an impediment to that.
Staff would not support a condition like that as a principal structure. It would be able to follow any rules that are under the allowable limit. And if the apartment above it is not allowed, there's code enforcement. It would not condition of an allowable right in the building.
And I know Eric may be able to speak to this a little bit based on some projects he's done, but sometimes in the design review process, there are things that the village can do to reduce the chances of that happening. Or has
Completely.
done.
Yeah, and I think in looking at the floor plans, as shrunken as they are,
Yeah.
the fact that there is not a door into the mudroom from the exterior would be the first red flag and the potential for the what if that you're concerned about, which is a legitimate concern. I mean, it was a concern on a project that I had in town, and it was something that we had to address. You know, there's only one entrance. You're going through the garage. I mean, if you're going to talk about, you know, subletting this thing, then you're talking about, oh, I got to come through a garage, and I got to go up the stairs, and you're going through sort of multiple zones, right? If that door was in that mudroom, you know, that mudroom is essentially a little vestibule, but that's obviously not what's happening here. And how do we legislate that, you know, over time? I mean, that's code enforcement. Those are real concerns, yes, but at a zoning level, it seems like it's not the right avenue to sort of address that concern, in my opinion.
Would be a great topic for future meetings to begin discussing accessory dwelling. Want to bring that heat to the board?
So, unless there's further discussion on this topic, then I would entertain a motion, whoever would like to make that motion. I believe the recommended motion is within the packet, right there. The back, last 2 pages of the presentation. Here.
Yeah. All right. Make a motion to recommend approval of a rear yard setback of 15 feet or 40 feet are required for section 2.3 lot and building regulations in the RS 7.5 district based upon the findings of fact identified in the record for PZ 22-0012 with these conditions. 1, the development shall be in substantial compliance with the site plan prepared by SG Architects dated October 4th, 2022, except the east facade of the addition must maintain a 6-foot interior yard setback and not increase the nonconformity. 2, compliance with all applicable village codes and regulations. 3, obtaining all necessary permits and certifications for development.
All right, I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion seconded. Any questions or comments on the motion? Okay, roll call. Calvert,
Yes.
Hofstra,
Yes.
Leckie,
Yes.
Schlinsky.
Yes.
I too vote yes. With that, our recommendation will pass the village board, and they can accept, reject, or modify as they see fit. Thank you for your time, and good luck with the rest of this, and we'll close the public hearing on that.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Do you have any other business for us tonight, Mark?
I do not. What's the score?
I have one quick item of business, I think, that just came to me via email this week, which is our 2023 budget. Just to let everybody know. So our 2022 budget was, and I can hand these out. Our 2022 budget was $6,000, and we spent $4,100 of that as of whenever this was made up. And our budget would be increasing in 2023 to $10,000, which is a substantial increase. But we do pay for notice on text amendments and village-related business. Imagine we pay some of her time. I know the applicants pay some of that as well. She being the court reporter, who's awesome, by the way. Put that on the record. She's come back more than once. We appreciate that.
And she hasn't yelled at us.
No, not once. So, any questions, comments? Anybody have any issues, concerns with that before I confirm with the village manager's office that we're good to go for that? And then, just a reminder, I think we all do have APA membership as commissioners. You can talk to maybe Mark. I don't know if he knows about that. I think, or you could talk to Pat, but it gives you access to a number of good resources. And if that's not in place, then I want to talk about Mark, about getting that in place, because Consuelo and I talked about that, and we had done that in the past. But I think Pat told me that it was in place, but I don't know if information about it was ever distributed.
That, and it's an annual dues.
Yes.
So I'll confirm that it's
Yeah.
continuing and that it didn't get here.
And then if the other thing is, I'll save that for another meeting. Anybody else have any comments before we close out? Otherwise, we'll get out of here. Nope. All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second?
Seconded. We're adjourned.